Welcome back to First Take. 2 of the top 10 offenses from a year ago will have a new look this season. Jared Goff and the Lions lost their offensive coordinator Ben Johnson to their division rivals when he became the Bears' new head coach. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts and the reigning champion Eagles also lost their OC, Kellen Moore. He's now the head coach of the Saints. He'll now play under his fourth offensive coordinator in 4 years. Ooh, consistency is a thing. So, RC, we're coming to you. Are you more worried about an offensive regression in Detroit or in Philly?
You know what? I'm actually not necessarily overly concerned about a regression in either, but if I had to pick, I would pick Detroit because Ben Johnson has been such a staple of everything that they've done, from the run game to the trick plays to the play action to being able to manage Jared Goff in any situation. And I got an opportunity to watch quarterback, and you saw sort of the intricacies and the way that Ben Johnson and Jared Goff's relationship ended up in success on the field. We've watched, we saw Jalen Hurts play with different coordinators. We've seen Jalen Hurts excel with different coordinators. And I believe the continuity when you are promoting a Pachulo to the offensive coordinator position after seeing what he was able to do or what Kellen Moore did with Saquon Barkley, the way that Jalen Hurts had command of the offense, especially near the end of the season in the passing game, I think you stick to doing some of those same things, and the continuity with the roster helped that as well. Will Detroit be fine? Absolutely. Will Jared Goff still play well? Absolutely. Will we see explosiveness in the pass game? Will the two-headed monster at the running back position of Sonic and Knuckles be successful? Yes, but I expect them to have to take some time to understand, adjust, and get some of that chemistry they had with Ben Johnson, more so than they will in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. When I look at this football team and the adjustment that they made in season last year after Game 4, they were 2-2 at that point. And in all 4 of those games, Jalen Hurts either threw the ball 30 or more times. And then you had players go into Nick Sirianni and also Kellen Moore at the time, and they say, hey, I think we need to lean more on our offensive line, and we need to lean into Saquon Barkley a little bit more. That's exactly what they did. So it will be offensive malpractice if Kevin Pachulo goes in there and tries to overcoach as an offensive coordinator, knowing what they have offensive line-wise and with Saquon Barkley at the running back position. Now, another reason why I'm picking Philly is because when I look at the 2 teams, Philly and Detroit, RC, like you mentioned, from an infrastructure standpoint, I'm giving the edge to Dan Campbell and what he's been able to build from a culture standpoint. There have been times in Philly where things have gotten a little rocky, right? And I don't know how Kevin Pachulo is going to handle that as an offensive coordinator because he's never been in that spot. So that's why I'm going with Philly in this situation versus Detroit.
So, as in Philly is more likely or less likely to have the regression?
More likely.
More likely. Copy.
Yeah, I don't think either will. It started with Philly on defense. Look, they lost a lot of really good players. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham retired. They lost Darius Slade, but they've drafted well. So look for guys like Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Jalix Hunt to play well, replacing those players. And Jihad Campbell, if he's healthy, I think actually gives them an upgrade at linebacker. Offensively, I think Kevin Pachulo being there from day one with Nick Sirianni, this is a fully formed offense now with Jalen Hurts and Saquon. So it's not like year in, year out, just they're indiscriminately starting over with Kellen Moore leaving. And then likewise with Detroit, I had the great fortune of working with Dan Campbell. He's a tone setter, a culture setter, and him and Mark Brunell have been there. So even though they're losing Ben Johnson, which is a concern, I think they're going to be okay. And on the other side of the ball, obviously they lost Aaron Glenn to the Jets, but as you mentioned earlier, Harry, this is remarkable. Aiden Hutchinson led their team in sacks, only playing 7 games. Having him back is as impactful a transaction as any this offseason because they're going to be able to score. We all know that. RC, you listed all the reasons why. And to me, when we talk about the Bengals or the Lions, it's always about how, Bill Walsh, right? How do you close out games, fourth quarter pass rushers? That's why Hutchinson's health, to me, is way more important than Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn leaving.
Did you just neither us on First Take?
I did.
Oh, okay, just checking.
Is that a violation?
I'm substituting
major
to do whatever you want.
No, not a violation, Mike.
I have a question. Because I've been at this company privileged to talk to former guys that won Super Bowls. RCU won a Super Bowl. There's a notion, though, that the team coming off of a Super Bowl, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you call it the Super Bowl hangover, the lull, the whatever, It's very difficult to repeat, as we've seen in the NFL. No concern in terms of like that dynamic when you look at Philly, and maybe Detroit even chomping at the bit even more, considering the promise of last year's regular season and how it panned out in the postseason, RC?
So I will say this. I would think, and my feeling is, it's more difficult to rebound from an underachievement than it is from a successful season. The Detroit Lions in 2 years now have had to rebound from underachieving in the moment. You get to the NFC Championship against the San Francisco 49ers. You have a double-digit lead, and you blow that lead. You come back and have a phenomenal season, but you have a divisional round exit against the Washington Commanders, who you are a heavy favorite against. To me, that's difficult. Not only do you have to rebound from that emotionally and mentally and physically, but now you have to replace both of your coordinators who, along with the infrastructure that Mike T is talking about building, part of that infrastructure was Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson that allowed Dan Campbell to just be Dan Campbell. He didn't have to coach offense or coach defense. He just had to delegate and manage the football game. How do you do that now with John Morton and Kelvin Shepard at the coordinator positions? And if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, it may be difficult to say, okay, we have to repeat. We're not talking about repeating. We're talking about being successful again. They started the next season after losing the Super Bowl 10-1. It was the way they finished that year. And when you have a quarterback who almost seems like all he thinks about is winning, and it's the ultimate goal, but still isn't enough, this team is going to come back focused on the main thing, being the main thing, which is winning. And so I don't necessarily see the Super Bowl hangover playing more of a factor in the way that the Eagles rebound this year than the Detroit Lions having to rebound from underachieving in 2 years prior.
We got 15 seconds, Mike T.
Philadelphia is going to be fine because they have the personality and the DNA of their quarterback, who's never satisfied. And between him and Saquon Barkley, if you Google Bill Parcells' commandments for a quarterback, you talk about a selfless battlefield commander. Jalen Hurts is not going to let this team slip, and neither is Saquon Barkley. They're in great
That's
hands.
the horn. We got to go to break. Great point, though, but we got to go to break. All right.
Imagine if you didn't like the point.